You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful humans. Happy Monday, happy Moon Day, and welcome my guest today, Court Burns of Bravely Beautiful brand.
Hi, I'm so excited.
It's the Astrological New Year, so I felt like we needed to do a little bit of like a hype New Year's kind of party vibe, you know, talking about Aries season, the year ahead, the month ahead, all the things. But you have some Aries placements, right? Because I feel like you have some Aries energy.
So Aries rules my first house in Placidus, but it's like I don't have any planets in Aries, which is kind of wild.
I feel like you do have some like Aries energy. It makes sense. There's a lot of it in your first house, but you're always like ready to dance. You're like ready to jump into action. Very Aries. So we'll go over what Aries energy means. And all week on the live stream, we'll have exciting announcements every day, starting right now. So for the beginning of every show, we're going to start with birthdays, celebrity birthdays, your birthdays. This is a time if you're watching and you want to give a shout out to yourself. I mean, Aries season, let's pump ourselves up, but also to family, to friends. Like, how fun would it be, even if they don't watch this show, to be like, this random person wished you a happy birthday today. You know,
yes, that's so kind.
Like, thinking of you and sending you energy. So it's kind of like a free birthday gift, I think, if you want me to give somebody a shout out. But also a fun way to kind of get a snapshot of the energy by looking at what famous or notable people were born on this day. Susie Gemini says, Happy New Year. Greetings from California. Hi, thank you for being here. So let's see who has birthdays today. We have Gary Oldman. So
I don't even know who that is.
He's like an actor. I think I don't know what he's been in. I think he might have been in a Harry Potter movie, maybe. He's in some weird stuff. If you know what Gary Oldman has been in, let us know in the chat. I'm trying to look up his IMDb really quick. It's a lot of words and not a lot of movie posters, but he's somewhat notable. Let's see. We have Scott Eastwood. Do we know who that is?
I've heard that name. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's really attractive. So he's Aries. Let's see. We have Matthew Broderick. Some very interesting Aries today. Like, what a weird day to start this.
Yeah. That's so funny.
And Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell was born today.
Oh, wow. She's an Aries.
I feel like you can tell because she's just like willing to kind of blurt out whatever comes into her head. I could see her being maybe a little bit impulsive, but that's what makes her so great.
Yeah.
And really that's all I'm getting. I'm not seeing any other names that anybody would know. So an interesting birthday day to start off. Gary Oldman. Oh, he passed away. R.I.P. Gary.
Yeah. Look, we're honoring you. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me know, actually, if you're watching this, if you enjoy any Gary Oldman movies, because I'm sure we've all seen one. Matthew Broderick, everybody knows who Matthew Broderick is, right? Like, Ferris Bueller, you know.
Such a good movie.
Parker.
So good.
Okay, so happy birthday to Aries. Happy birthday to anyone who's watching who has their own birthday today, friends and family's birthday today. But like I said, I feel like I wanted to switch it up and start these shows kind of with a bang, you know? And I think it's also a way, like, we're alive. We should celebrate that every day. And I think birthdays are a great way to celebrate just life in general, you know?
Yeah, really good reminder. And I think Aries do that really well in terms of like, you know, like being like, this is my day. Like, this is my, you know, and I think that that's a great reminder for all of us.
Yes. So get ready for more birthday shout outs. And then also, you know, kind of in contrast to the happy birthdays, I want to start by sharing an affirmation. So there are affirmations at the top of every forecast on thespiritualjournalist.com, but I think it can just kind of set the tone for our conversation each day. So today's affirmation is, I direct my energy with intention. And the intention, I think, is the important part because we have tons of energy during Aries season, right? We have like this raw energy to work with. It's spring, things are blooming, we have a clean slate, but being intentional about how we're directing that energy, I think, is the key.
Yeah. Ooh, I felt that in my bones.
So we'll revisit that, and I'm sure it will come back up throughout the show today, but just being very intentional with how you are directing your energy, I think, is going to be really helpful. So in this live stream, we're going to go through, like, touch on what Aries energy is all about. We'll touch on the major transits coming up this Aries season and beyond, because Court has been doing year ahead readings for the first part of the kind of noticed a lot of the trends. So I'm excited to have you touch on that. And then we'll go through the forecast as well.
Yay.
All right. So let's start with Aries season. It's running from now until April 19th. And, you know, like, what does that actually mean? Because I think a lot of times, I don't know, you can tell me how you feel for it. Like, we talk about like, oh, Aries, and it's just like almost a personality trait. But when we're in a season, we're all feeling the effects of that energy. And so rather than just being like, oh, Aries people are X, Y, and Z, we can kind of like align with the energy and use it to our advantage, but also maybe be aware of kind of the shadow sides of some energies so we don't get caught up in a sticky situation, you know?
Yeah, it's so important to talk about both, right? Like, I love that. I love that you said that, the shadow side of it as well.
Yes. So when we talk about the sun in a sign, we're talking about, I really see the sun as like lighting up whatever area of the chart it's in. So you can look at your own chart, and I highly encourage you to do so anytime you're watching these shows, to have your chart either on your phone or just kind of in your mind, and take a look at what area of your chart Aries rules. The sun is going to be transiting through this house over the next 4 weeks or so. And when the sun is transiting through a house in my chart, I feel like it's just like lighting up everything in that house. It's like shining a light on it. So if you have planets in Aries, expect those to be activated. I mean, like, the sun literally gives us energy. You know what I mean? So it's going to energize anything in its path during Aries season, and it can, you know, illuminate parts of our identity that are in that house or ruled by Aries. Certain parts of our personality can come out. And like you said, there's a shadow and a light. So pay special attention to what planets are in each house. How do you work with certain energies, like during each season? Like, when you're looking at your own chart, Court, what do you pay attention to?
I think you described it really well. Like, that light shining in, almost like a flashlight of like, okay, I also like to think of the houses as like a different party or a theme. So I'm like at a house party that has a certain theme going on. And so Aries is like, oh, yeah, right? Like, Aries is like a big party. Like, there's a lot going on there. And so it's like, okay, how can I use the energy that I know of and then kind of plan, in a sense? I try to use that energy as much as possible. And so, for example, like, I think I said this on one of your live streams last week, but like, I'm getting ready to go back to hot yoga. Like, that is something that's very Aries, right? Because it's but it's hot, but it's also, it's good for my body, and that's my first house. So yeah, that's just an example.
Yes, because Aries is the most like physical. I don't want to say physical as in like possessions, that's more Taurus, but like our body, our movement, like it really, Aries rules the first house. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I view the first house as like you're coming into the world, you're coming into a body, you know, like that's kind of the stage of life, the first house rules. Yeah. So this time of year is a great time to get back into your body, you know. Yeah. I also love how you always say this on your stories. You're like, gotta move the old meat suit.
Just thinking that. I'm like, it's so funny that like that's where it is in my chart. And I'm like, meat suit. Like this is your vessel. Like this is literally your vessel and you need to move it.
Yes. No, I was on a walk with my partner the other day and I'm like, just moving the old meat suit. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? But it's really like, especially when you start getting into spirituality and you're like, I've lived 1,000 lifetimes and I'm just the spirit having a human experience. Sometimes it can be easy to like neglect the human experience or discount the human experience. And Aries season reminds us like we are here in this physical form, in this body, in our meat suit for a short period of time. And we really have to take care of our physical vessel too. Like, you know, an object in motion stays in motion is very much like a law of Aries season, you know, like you really want to move.
Totally. And I think on top of that as well, and what it looks like what we're going to get into is that I notice personally, it's like when that energy gets stuck in the body, those shadow aspects might actually start to come out more. And so that's something I think to keep in mind as well. I mean, you do you, whatever you want, but I think energy and motion, right? Like it's like a really good reminder.
Absolutely. Because, you know, Aries, as we have pulled up here, it's all about energy. It's all about stamina. Like it's fiery, you know, it's like Aries being the first sign of the zodiac is like lighting a match. It's that spark. You can start things during Aries season. And it's why a lot of times Aries are great leaders because they're willing to like jump into action and start something. And I mean, I think what makes somebody a good leader is the willingness to do it, to start, because you know, so many people have the same idea, but it takes one person willing to do it to actually make it, to bring it into reality. You know what I mean? And, you know, Aries have a lot of drive and passion and motivation and courage. They're often called like the warrior of the zodiac too, because they're really passionate and willing to like run into battle. If an Aries was actually in an army, they would be like the first person charging into battle, you know, like just raw power and confidence. And all of these qualities like are wonderful, but I think you do have to talk about the shadow side of being too impulsive or aggressive or maybe a little bit headstrong, like not really thinking things through before you do jump into action. So there's a shadow and light to everything.
Yeah, you said that really well. I also think there's that like self-indulgent piece that can come up, right? Because Aries is more about the self. And so having this like healthy relationship to self is important, of course. But like where are we on that spectrum, right? Like, are we over giving to others and neglecting like the self, or is it the opposite way around? I think that can come up as well.
And I think, you know, it's like, there's no coincidences in astrology. There's a reason why Taurus season comes after Aries season. It's like the signs build on each other energetically. And we'll talk about this, of course, during Taurus season. We talk a lot about self-care during Taurus season and our values and our comfort, and like it's much more grounding. And I really think the reason for that is because in Aries season, it's like we're lighting everything on fire and seeing what burns, but sometimes we kind of forget like, oh, maybe we should tend to the earth too. And like, maybe we should take some pauses and breaks and find time. Because Taurus, like we said, is about the physical body still, but it's more about like, ooh, maybe I pushed too hard and I need to take a break. So know that season is coming and keep it in mind so you don't burn yourself out during Aries season, you know?
Yeah, totally. Good reminder. I needed that as well.
I think I did too. I mean, I was like, this is going to be an amazing week and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to like have all these things on the show and totally, Aries vibes. And then this morning I was like, okay, I need to like, we can roll this out slowly. This doesn't have to be all at once. But Aries energy makes us just want to do it right now. It's a balance.
I've been noticing this coming up for me as well. And something that I am doing, which I do all the time anyway, but extra right now is like making sure I have a notes app for Aries season, because it's like bing, idea. Like I think you're the same. We're both manifesting generators. So it's like this constant, and I'm like, have this urge to really want to do it all. And I'm like, okay, wait, I need to like have a place for these to go so I can sift through them before I just put them out there. Not sure if that helps anyone, but it's helping me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And right now Mercury is in Pisces. So when we're talking about ideas, Mercury rules our thoughts. And I don't know about you, but so Mercury doesn't like to be in Pisces. And I'm ruled by Mercury as a Virgo rising. So my brain has been a little bit like, what the hell is going on? But the beauty of Mercury in Pisces is like, all these dreamy ideas are coming through, and it's kind of like, what's a good idea and what's just kind of passing through. But I find, like you said, writing it down and then like revisit it later, because Mercury in Pisces is a really great time to dream and brainstorm, but maybe not actually put the idea into motion. However, we're going to just in a couple of seconds here talk through the major transits of Aries season, and Mercury is moving into Aries at the end of the week.
I'm so excited. The like term that comes to mind for this is like, say it with your chest, like boom. Totally. It's gonna be wild to see this play out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Chelsea says, my daughter is a Taurus sun and has 5 planets in Aries. So I'm on a mission to understand more about Aries. First of all, kudos to you for like taking that approach. But Court has a whole course about cosmic kiddos, about how to parent through astrology. So I'll let you kind of touch on this question.
I got like so excited because it makes me like hearing parents wanting to explore their kids' charts and like understand them on that level. I'm like, oh my gosh, like kudos to you. Like that's amazing. And yeah, I talk a lot about this in the course that I'm creating, and watching the parents explore it is amazing. But a Taurus sun, daughter, and then 5 planets in Aries. Wow. Like this soul came here to be this like grounded, probably very like sensible human, right? But she's got this drive, and I'm curious what the planets are that are in Aries, but to support that would be like, she's going to have some probably confidence, like, and she's going to have big ideas and big dreams to go after. And so supporting her in that as much as you possibly can, even when they might be bigger than what you can maybe anticipate. I think that would be very helpful. Yeah.
Probably a natural leader too, I would guess, because Tauruses are like grounded and kind of authoritative, but with so much Aries energy, she's probably like ready to take the lead, maybe even boss you around a little bit. Aries can be pretty bossy.
To like see her in amongst her friends would be so interesting to witness, because you can even use that as an example, like look and see how she is with groups of people that she's around, and see which one. See if you notice the Taurus more or the Aries more.
I also hear just like head bitch in charge. Like she's probably bossing her friends around. Like if I had to guess, I don't know what planets are in Aries, but that's not a bad thing. It really isn't. Also, just something that came through for me is like she probably needs a lot of movement if she has that many planets in Aries. So like making sure she has an outlet for, physical expression, I would feel.
Even like the Taurus sun, right? Like getting into that body and like feeling. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, let's look ahead through the major energy of Aries season. Let me pull up the major transits here, but I know we have more to talk about even than just this, but this is just kind of like the major movements that are happening for us right now. So again, Aries season runs through, that should say April 19th, not February 19th, but that would be very Aries to just like go.
You know what? The details at this point, it's hard for the Virgo. I know.
Aries does not care about the details. It's like, just do it. Like, whoever came up with that slogan for Nike is an Aries.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So Mercury, like I said, is moving into Aries this Sunday at the end of the week. And Mercury's been in Pisces, like we just talked about, very dreamy, kind of like trying to make sense of things. Maybe these ideas that are coming through are really beautiful, but they don't make a whole lot of sense. When Mercury's in Aries, I just think this is going to be like more ideas, like rapid ideas, all the ideas coming through and like really wanting to like do something with them. But again, I would almost like make the list, like you said, write them down and like sit with an idea before you jump into action.
Yeah, there's a really healthy way to do it. And I haven't mastered this because like I said, I'm like, let's just go. Like, let's do it. Right. Like I'm very like that. But I think that's the approach that will stand the longevity, especially, I know we're getting in deep here, but like with the North Node in Taurus, it's like, can you allow that idea to sit and then build it, like take time, let it take some time ish, if you can.
Yeah. Well, because it's like ideas that come through are going to feel like we're very confident in our ideas when Mercury is in Aries. So we can be more assertive and we can be more, like of a leader when we're talking and expressing ourselves and communicating, which is really amazing. But any ideas that come through are going to feel like you need to act on this right now. And you don't. So and the nice thing about this Mercury transit is it's like extremely short, like most Mercury transits, but we don't have Mercury retrograde for a while. So it's literally 2 weeks of Mercury in Aries. And keep that in mind. If you have any major thoughts or breakthroughs or something coming through, like hold on to them for a couple of days. This transit only lasts 2 weeks. And then Mercury moves into Taurus and we can like find that groundedness again and like return to practicality with Mercury in an earth sign and kind of be like, okay, is this a good idea? We can kind of like return to our values a little bit with Mercury and Taurus. But with that being said, I would expect like a lot of great startup ideas to come through with Mercury and Aries. And, if you've been needing to speak up about something, or if you're not normally a confident speaker, or, there's a conversation that you've been worried about having, Mercury and Aries can give you the courage and confidence to do that. But going back to the affirmation, like direct your energy in an intentional way. Mercury and Aries are a little hot-headed when we speak. So we want to be intentional about our thoughts, about our words.
Yeah. As you're saying that, I'm like throat chakra, like anyone who's like been working on clearing that up, this is a really good time to like even do throat chakra clearing, like at this time, if that's something you want to explore, I think could be helpful.
Yeah, could be like a fresh start for your communication too, which is really beautiful. Just don't let that fire burn too hot. You know what I mean? Like you just don't want to be an asshole basically with Mercury and Aries.
Yeah.
And then we have the new moon in Aries in like a week and a half, 2 weeks on March 31st. And I see this as like, yes, we're in spring. We have a new season. We're hyped about it. We're excited. But if you're still kind of like closing or releasing things over the next couple weeks, that's normal too. The moon is still in a releasing phase, so the new moon in Aries could actually be that like fresh start you've been looking for energetically if you're not quite feeling that yet.
Yeah, well said. I was actually feeling that this morning when I was kind of doing some journaling. I'm like, I still feel like there's some things being released. I mean, the moon's in Scorpio today. So well said on that one.
And we're having our lunar returns.
Scorpio moons. Yeah.
Scorpio moons. I know either my lunar return, I'm like, I feel great, or I'm like, whoop, that blindsided me. I thought I was going to feel great and I feel horrible. But so far it's been a good one for me.
Yeah. Same.
Good. So yeah, that new moon in Aries is really going to like, I would say the next couple of weeks, focus on the releasing, focus on the closure. If there's anything that still needs to be released, so that by the new moon in Aries, you can really like fully step into a new chapter, a fresh start. And the new moon in Aries is like such a beautiful time to set intentions for the year ahead, because you have so much like raw energy and power behind those intentions. All right. And then Venus enters Pisces on the 5th of April. We love this. We love this transit. Venus in Aquarius, it's been okay. Mars in Aquarius, it's okay. Like, it's not a bad transit. But Venus loves to be in Pisces, the traditional ruler of Pisces. It's romantic, it's affectionate, it's compassionate, it's sweet, all the yes.
I have this one. So this is it'll be my Venus return.
Beautiful placement.
Yeah, I love it. It's also on my rising.
Is it in your 12th or your first?
In my 12th house.
I have Venus in the 12th too.
Oh, look at us. Is yours in Virgo then?
It's in Leo.
Oh, Leo. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah. My only Leo placement is Venus.
I love that so much. Yeah, Venus in Pisces is obviously very dreamy, and there's something that I've learned throughout having this in my life is there can be a rose-colored glasses approach, and that's something to always keep in mind. However, what I notice when this transit is happening is the levels of empathy in regards to our relationships and connection with others is so beautiful. I always notice gratitude seems to be heightened, and people are just this energetic connection that you can't really explain with words is really present during that time. So I personally love it, but I love it for everyone.
I see like falling in love, like head over heels, like almost getting like lost in love, because
are you telling me this?
I mean, yes, we're manifesting this. I actually do, like, I don't know. I feel that for you. I don't really know why, but I have been feeling that for you. I'm not like a psychic or anything, but I'm like, for some reason, I just like see this happening. Okay. But Pisces energy is a little cloudy, so it can be easy to get lost in it, lost in empathy, right? Like I would say Venus and Pisces, make sure we're aware of our boundaries, especially in relationships. But it is beautiful because we are like, if you're somebody who always has walls up, this is a really beautiful transit for you to like let that guard down, tap into universal love, tap into your spirituality. You might find deeper spirituality with Venus and Pisces too. You might be attracted to more modalities of healing and spirituality. But if a new relationship does enter your life, amazing, beautiful. Just like, don't get married on the second date, like.
Actually, no. That is a great reminder.
You're like so caught up, and like Venus, you're feeling the love with Venus and Pisces, but we can be a little delusional also. That's kind of the shadow of it. So again, it's kind of the same, especially during Aries season too. We're like, we need to do something about this now. So maybe don't make any like major commitments or decisions until Aries season is over, even with Venus and Pisces,
Yeah, just let yourself feel the love. I like that you said, let the love wash over you. Like there doesn't have to be a label right away. There doesn't have to be whatever. Like you can just really be in that feeling, of course, with boundaries. And I think that that's the beautiful part of this transit.
You know what's so funny? So my dogs, one of them is an Aries and one of them is a Libra. They're like little opposites, but also the same. And the Libra, she's like the most codependent dog on the planet. She just like needs to be snuggled, needs to give affection, needs constant affection. But I started teaching her the word boundaries. And she has a Pisces moon too. So she's like Pisces. I started teaching her boundaries and going like this because she just like always wants to be on you and in your face and licking you, and it's a little much, and she started to learn it. But again, it's just like this transit feels like her name's Willow, very Willow. And sometimes you're going to have to tell yourself like, okay, boundaries, like you don't need to be all love all the time. It's great, but like, let's also use our brains a little bit.
I like that you did. That's a really good visual of like boundaries. Like I think I need to do that for myself. Like I'm constantly learning boundaries, as you can probably imagine, and as we all are. But like that idea of like boundaries, like I'm doing something physical of like, even if you're not doing it to someone, like it's like boundaries. Okay, I'm putting them up for myself. It's important.
It's almost like I'm not trained in Reiki, but it almost feels like Reiki. Like sometimes even if I'm in like a conflicting situation with someone else and the energy is really intense and I'm like trying to hold my own space, I'll just like really gently go like this, like, okay, I'm just holding my energy and like not pushing anything on you, but also not like receiving anything that I don't want to receive. I actually like went to this event a couple weeks ago, and I'm not usually like overwhelmed in spaces like that, but I felt really overwhelmed for whatever reason. And I was walking around like this. It's like I probably look like a freak, but I'm just like, nobody touched my energy. Like
my bubble, please do not penetrate it.
Yeah. But really throughout Aries season, claiming your physical space and physical boundaries and not letting yourself cross this boundary and not letting other people influence your energy, I think is going to be really helpful.
Yeah, great reminder.
All right. And then April 14th, we have Mars entering Pisces. So we're kind of getting another dose of Pisces energy, and Lilith entering Cancer. So Mars in Pisces is, it's not like the strongest Mars placement, but being in Aries season, it is nice to have a heavy dose of compassion and empathy and sensitivity and sweetness when there is so much power and energy to work with, How do you see Mars in Pisces?
I really it's weird. I'm very excited about it. I like that you said the compassion and empathy, because I think after all the transits that we have been through, and I see a theme of us moving towards collective healing. I think everyone knows that. And I just see that these like placements are really going to be beneficial in terms of supporting that, like I see that you're maybe having opposing beliefs to me, but this energy can be very like, okay, I'm going to tap into more of that kindness, that compassion that might help that out. And so again, yes, that spiritual connection, but also like human to human, soul to soul. That's sort of what I'm feeling with that, at least.
One of our friends has Mars in Pisces, and I just discovered this. It's funny because she has an Aries rising. She's a Gemini. She's like you meet her and she's kind of in your face. And so I've been dying to look at her chart for a while. And on the Super Bowl, I was like, I need your birth information. Like, I need to know. And her only Pisces placement is Mars in Pisces. And I was like thinking about it. And I was like, this really helps. She's a journalist as well in the Bay Area. And I was like, this really helps you act from a place of compassion and empathy. But something that immediately came to mind about her personality is that, the Bay Area has like a really, really intense homeless crisis. Same with Sacramento, not as bad as she lives in Oakland specifically. And she's like always randomly helping homeless people, or like she's getting ready to move and like donated a bunch of her food to this like community fridge. And she's like always posting about these things that are really empathetic and compassionate, and you can tell she like really feels for other people and isn't afraid to like jump into action to help someone else. And I feel like Pisces is going to like, by mid-April, if we have impulses, we'll actually be able to like tap into our empathy and compassion while we're being impulsive, which is nice. It gives us a little bit more heart to what we're doing, and like, just softness.
I love that. The genuine connection of like wanting to help others, right? I think that will be the humanitarian energy essentially is Mars and Pisces, right? There's like, how can I support? Yeah,
our motivations really do come from like a genuine place. And then Lilith in Cancer. So Lilith takes about 9 months to transit through a sign, and Lilith has been in Gemini for the past 9 months or so. And I don't work with Lilith a ton, but Lilith and Gemini, I feel like people have been very sassy, like speaking their truth. Gemini is very talkative energy, and Lilith is our like repressed desires, like our need to like assert our sovereignty and assert ourselves. So Lilith and Gemini, people have been very vocal, I think, about like, this is what we deserve. Yeah, really everything. Yeah, for real. Lilith and Cancer, I think, can help us kind of come back to our nurturing side and like nurture our own needs. Anything that's been repressed, instead of like with Lilith and Gemini, it's been like, I need to express this. It's been repressed. I need to let everybody know, I think when Lilith is in Cancer, it'll be like, okay, this thing that's been repressed in me, how can I like nurture it? How can I take care of myself? How can I, maybe in a more gentle way, let other people know how this needs to be nurtured or taken care of? But I also see, like, with Cancer being the sign of the mother, like we could see a lot of issues around equality for mothers or moms kind of taking the forefront with Lilith and Cancer the rest of the year.
Yeah, as you're saying that too, like I'm very curious in terms of like the mother wound or how our lineage will come up, healing through that side maybe. I'm kind of already noticing that actually in my life. But if we're healing this part of ourselves, like our lineage through our mothers, especially as women, I think that is something that might be very interesting in what that healing looks like over that kind of period of time. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's so spot on. Actually, I'm so glad you said that. And you know, the mother wound is not that different than like the witch wound. You know, it's there's been a lot of talk about that, and Lilith does have, I mean, she's called Black Bone Lilith. It's like very much a witchy vibe, but a lot of it is about like repression, you know, and like women and how we've been oppressed, and maybe not even in this lifetime, you know, like we are very fortunate that we were born into a society where we do have equal rights, but that doesn't mean we don't carry the DNA of our grandmothers who were born into societies where they were not allowed to open bank accounts, where maybe they weren't allowed to vote depending on where they lived. Or this is like especially true if you're someone who has a lineage outside of the US or Canada or like kind of the West. Like this would be a really beautiful time the rest of the year to kind of dig into your cultural background and like the mother wound, like you said, like what situations did your grandmother have to go through, and how was she maybe oppressed?
It's so interesting because I also don't work with Lilith as much, but I've been hearing Lilith come up more and more. And I'm wondering now if maybe this is why, because of this particular transit. And even like the sister wound, like look at us together right now. Like, you know, we're going back and forth. There's no competition. Like we're hyping each other up on Instagram. Like maybe that's even something that comes up through this, right? Of that support versus like, how can we come together in connection with other women, right? Like these things. And I know you're doing something like that as well with the like dancing, right? And
yes, we'll talk about, I have an announcement at the end. We'll talk about that. I'm so excited.
Anyway, I think that's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
I know. And I actually as you're saying that, I'm like, this transit, Lilith moves into Cancer like 2 days before we're doing the first dance party, which is so perfect. You know, I obviously didn't plan that, but very much about like feminine power, which is very exciting.
I love it. I'm excited actually. Yeah.
I know. It's going to be so fun. And then the full moon in Libra is how we end out Aries season. That will be on April 16th. And this is really just going to illuminate relationships, one-to-one partnerships, not even necessarily romantic, but also Libra. I've been really feeling more of that sisterhood energy too. The more I work with Libra energy, you know, it's kind of about like equality and balance. And it's like opposite of Aries. So it's not competitive. It's like diplomatic, and the more resources we have, the better. And how can we bring people together and find like a common playing ground, you know? And I think just the full moon in Libra allows us to appreciate the beauty of life a little bit more, lean into the romantic vibes, lean into affection for ourselves, for other people. You know, it's a really beautiful full moon.
I love Libra energy, so I'm very biased, but I love it so much. That's all I have to say. Like, yeah, I love it. Yeah, enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes, and we'll have multiple planets in Pisces at this point too. Like, I think just expect this to be a very romantic, beautiful full moon.
Venus in Pisces and then like a Libra full moon. Wow! If you're in a relationship or even just like want to have like a girls' night or whatever. Amazing. Like a perfect time for that. Yeah.
Perfect time. And I think this full moon in Libra too, it's like 3 days before Taurus season. It's like really helping us get into that Venus energy of like not comfort, but more like sensuality, luxury, you know, we're like feeling how beautiful it is to be in this physical body when it comes to the full moon in Libra, and kind of like getting more into our sensuality ahead of Taurus season. I think it's kind of like a little preview of Taurus season in a way.
I bet you a bunch of people start to plan their like spring, like get their hair cut around this time, or like start to move into that.
Yeah, the full moon in Libra is like all about beauty too. Don't be surprised if right around this time you're like seeing people like you said, dyeing their hair, or even like, you know, I mean, I don't recommend getting all the things, but if you want to get all the things, more power to you. You know, like this is the time to do it, I guess. Beautify yourself.
I'll probably go get my eyebrows done then. Get my maybe nail, do a little appointment, you know? This is it. This is what you can do.
Yes. Maybe get a little dressed up on the full moon in Libra. Like, you deserve to feel a little luxurious for sure. So I'll post this in the next day or two to my Instagram, and you can always find these dates. But I do, I know there are some other major transits coming up. We have a lot of conjunctions about to happen in Pisces. And I know one that you specifically wanted to talk about. So right now we're experiencing a conjunction between Mercury and Jupiter. That was late last night. So like this right now is like a conjunction between Mercury and Jupiter. Like there's an abundance of like conversation and ideas coming through, and it's very dreamy. But Jupiter and Neptune form a conjunction in April, right?
Yeah, April 12th. Is the like, I think the exact, however, like the energy is kind of starting to come close together now. So we'll start to feel it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, but like literally when we think of Neptune, of this very Piscean planet, right? Of like illusion, it also rules the media, right? Do you see it as that? Yeah. And you know, information, I also see it as like our fantasy and our dreams connecting us to kind of like other areas. So like picking up on information that's sort of outside of ourselves. And then Jupiter, obviously a magnifying glass, expanding what it touches. When they come together like this, I'm very interested to see in terms of what news we might hear on a collective level, if any. But also individually in our own lives, it's like, how can you allow your dreams to expand to something greater than you could have ever imagined? And that imagination word, maybe because I'm very Piscean in what I'm saying right now, but I'm like, something that just keeps coming through is it's like, it gets to be this good. It gets to be this good.
Yes.
So
I love that.
What's your thoughts on that energy?
I think yes to that for sure. Like that is a beautiful way of looking at it, because Jupiter is so optimistic, and with Neptune too, it's like I see also with Neptune in Pisces and now Jupiter in Pisces, the whole time Neptune has been in Pisces, really, we've seen like this rise of spirituality. I mean, we're here right now having this conversation. You know what I mean? Like, while Neptune in Pisces has been in Pisces, I'm pretty sure I had my own spiritual awakening along with like half of the world, it feels like. Which is amazing. And I think when Jupiter forms this conjunction to Neptune, we will see like a mass amount of people waking up, or a mass awareness of people waking up. And you know, I don't want to say like this is the moment of like mass ascension or anything. I just think it's going to like really amplify or highlight like spirituality in general, and how many people are paying attention to it and open to it and using it. And, you know, before we have this conjunction between Neptune and Jupiter, Mercury is now in a conjunction with Jupiter, and then it's going to come into a conjunction with Neptune. I want to say, in next week sometime. I have to look at the exact date. I don't have the exact date, but sometime in the next like week or so, Mercury will come into this conjunction with Neptune. So it's almost like Mercury forming these conjunctions is like bringing that energy into our rational awareness. You know, Mercury rules our rational mind. And if you've had like all these dreamy ideas while Mercury has been in Pisces, when Mercury forms this conjunction to Neptune, you could get like downloads or insights from spirit, God, source, you know. I see Jupiter forming a conjunction to Neptune following up on these conjunctions as like, okay, this is the time where all those ideas that were seeded and came through can kind of like grow and blossom and expand, you know. So if you've been having these dreams that you're like, I'm not sure how to like make them real or bring them into reality, which is very on par for Mercury and Pisces and all of this Pisces energy. Jupiter can really help with that, you know, and this is like also manifestation. Yes. Like you said, it does get to be this good. Like Jupiter and Pisces forming a conjunction is like all the optimism, manifest, lean into the power of belief. I feel like believe in yourself, believe in whatever has come through for you is meant for you.
Totally. Like it's so interesting because I feel so deeply. And I think that maybe, again, this is like Mercury being in Pisces, but it's like we're all right now learning to use different senses. Like in a sense, like we know how to use our logical mind, you know, we know those 3D things, but what we're learning is there's more than meets the eye. And while both are very important during this time, it's like, how can you tap into your other senses that you do have? All of us are intuitive. Every single person is intuitive. It's just that some of us are more open, maybe have certain planets that open that for us to explore. And these transits are like, yeah, just as you said, Olivia, like I see that as well with like another like spiritual awakening or spiritual opening or reactivation for a lot of people. And the consciousness just expanding. And it's like, that's because we're using our other senses. We're bringing, it sounds so Pisces. It's like we're bringing in another sense to our toolbox to be able to use to make decisions and choices. And I'm very excited about this. Yeah.
I am too. I'm glad you brought this up because like Jupiter also rules higher learning, higher understanding, you know. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius can be very spiritual as well. So yeah, it's just screaming at me like believe, trust, spirituality. And when we're talking about other senses, it doesn't necessarily mean you're like psychic or I mean, we all have the ability, like that is using your intuition, you know, we all have those abilities, but it doesn't mean necessarily you're going to like become a medium or be psychic when Jupiter and Neptune meet up. But while Mercury is in Pisces, like you said, opening to other senses can just be leaning into spirituality. Like meditation is opening to other senses, allowing whatever you believe in, God, spirit, the universe, allowing it to speak to you. Like that is opening another sense. So it's not just on this conjunction that can happen. It's like really this time leading up to it, especially since Pisces season was such a season of closure, allowing yourself to release things can open you up more to receiving new information. You know, the universe isn't going to give you anything you're not ready for. So if you're not ready for it because you're holding on to other things, it's not going to come through. But once you like Marie Kondo your life and clean it out, you can bring in new awareness. So I just see like honing that sense.
Yeah. And also it's like the Wizard of Oz, right? Like she uses her imagination, she's dreaming, but like I bring everything back to this movie. So, you know, I love it. But it's like it's like she was really there in her dream, right? She felt it. And so what a good reminder for us all that our manifestation skills are not just about writing anymore or just writing it out. While that's important and it can be very beneficial to some, it's like feel it in your body. What would that feel like? Like, you know, just feel it and like allow yourself to expand into it. If, you know, you can just stretch that muscle.
I feel like Dorothy was actually like astral traveling in The Wizard of Oz. You know what I mean? Like she was just like dreaming, yes, but her brain went to a different dimension and she was like pulling down some things like I feel like Glinda was like her ancestor, her guardian angel there to like be like, hey, this is what you need to know right now.
I feel like cry talking about this because I love it so much. Like it's just so true. I love that movie.
Yeah. And actually this conjunction between Mercury and Neptune happens this Wednesday. So like watch The Wizard of Oz, first of all, this week while Mercury is in Pisces still. But like this would be a great time in the next couple weeks to start a dream journal if you don't already do that, or like pay special attention to what's happening in your dreams. There's a ton of activation with Neptune and Mercury, and messages can come through really, really easily over the next couple weeks. So those are kind of the major energies playing out over the next 4 weeks during Aries season, I want to show you one more thing to help us align with the Aries energy, because I saw this video and I had to share it. And then we'll talk through today. I know a lot of people came here for the energy today and we haven't gotten to that yet, but we're over here like just celebrating.
Yeah, we're embracing the Aries energy and just like talking on like all of the Piscean energies as well. It's very elusive and over here and there, and we love that. I love that personally.
We're just doing it. We're going with it.
Thanks.
Okay, let me share this. Hopefully you can hear it also. Let's see. Okay. I don't know if you follow her. Her name is Kogi. She is freaking hilarious.
Oh no.
She does like vintage astrology type stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Ask yourself, what would Lady Gaga do?
Were you talking about me is the thing she says at the end. Anyway, I was just like, yeah, I need to show that. Like, that's pretty Aries, like kind of out of left field. Like, what is she even talking about? But the confidence is there.
Love that. What would Lady Gaga do? Can we just all have that as like our little mantra as we go through this?
We're all gonna have the like, instead of the "What would Jesus do" bracelets, like WWLGD. Seriously, that is. Yeah. I mean, also, can we just talk about the fact that so many divas are Aries? We have Lady Gaga, we have Celine Dion, we have Mariah Carey. All of them are Aries. So you can see the confidence is there.
Voices. Like they're like great examples of like the way that they use their voice is just like belts it out. Like the energy behind that, I'm like, that's so Aries.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like loud. They like, you know, they're not afraid to just like fully use their physical body, their voice. Wow. And it's not even just like when all of those singers sing, they're not just using their voice. They are like a presence. You know what I mean? Also, Lady Gaga has a Scorpio moon. I'm not sure if you knew that, but
I didn't know that. Okay. So interesting. I love that so much. I was going to say this before when you were talking about Aries leaders. Will Smith has his Saturn in Aries. So does someone else. And I was like, wow, that is such a good example. Will Smith also has a Scorpio moon. Yeah, so I thought of that, but I'm like, it's so interesting because look at like that form of leadership, right? Like it's like paving the way. Anyway, if anyone's curious, you can look these things up and you can like start to get familiar with different celebrities and their charts too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Astro Charts is a great site. I don't know if you've used it, but I'm starting to work with them more. Yeah, and they have a huge database of celebrity astrology charts. Like most charts, if you type in you know, Will Smith birth chart, like there's the site that comes up usually first. But they also have like search tools on their website. It's just astro-charts.com. And, you know, I'm not a huge like celebrity astrology person because I think there is so much to be said about like our own lives. And I feel like we kind of glorify celebrities a lot. And I think astrology should be something that's more like you and me talking about our lives. But the reason I think people love celebrity astrology so much is because we're like, oh, we can identify like what that energy looks like. And that's the same reason I'm like, we need to start these shows with birthdays, you know, kind of like get into the vibe of who was born on this day. Like, let's celebrate people who came into the world on this day, you know?
Yeah, I love it. I love that idea so much. And yeah, just like even getting to know your friends, right? And their charts and their energy, so powerful. Yeah.
And if you're like us and you have a Scorpio moon and you find out somebody like Beyonce has a Scorpio moon, you're like, I am basically Beyonce, you know, like.
Okay. Yeah, essentially.
I mean, we're basically the same. So a lot of singers have Scorpio moons, actually. I think like Scorpio is just like a natural musical energy.
Yeah, I've been noticing a lot more people recently have Scorpio moons. I don't know if that's just been coming into my awareness, but I'm like, wow, okay, I'll take it. Interesting.
I know. It's like a club that we're all part of. Yeah. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Scorpio energy. We'll save that for like 6 months from now. Yeah. But just an aside, this is very Aries of us to just like, oh, squirrel, let's go there. Let's just go talk about that. But let's actually talk about today, finally. So last night, 11 p.m., we touched on this, but we had a conjunction between Mercury and Jupiter. So both of these planets are in Pisces. This could have looked like really expansive dreams that you had if you were already asleep by this time, but we're really feeling this energy all day today between Mercury and Jupiter. And I really see this kind of as like being able to like see through those rose-colored glasses, like the thoughts that come into our awareness because of all this Pisces energy. We're able to see the silver linings. We're able to see the optimism, and we might feel like more generous and compassionate with our words today, which it's a really beautiful conjunction.
Yeah, I like that. I think we all need to be a little more generous with our words. So I'll take that.
Yeah, it is nice that we're starting Aries season with this conjunction in Pisces because they're two such different energies, really, even though they're right next to each other. Like one is the beginning and one is the endings, but it is helping us move into this season a little bit more gently, I think, which is nice. And then the other major trans that we're talking about today is a sextile between Mars and Chiron that happens at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And Chiron is, another one of those bodies or points, kind of like Lilith, where it's like we don't talk about it all the time. But coming off of Pisces season, especially if you were doing a lot of the work or the releasing or the closure, this supportive angle between Mars and Chiron, I really think is going to help us act from a place of healing today. We're getting support from that healing work we've already done because this is a positive angle. But again, this really comes back to the intention, right? Pointing your energy with intention. So a sextile, you got to put a little bit of work and intention into it to fully see the benefits of it. So yeah, I don't know. How do you see this sextile between Mars and Chiron?
It's interesting because I feel like there's been some shadow stuff coming up over the weekend of like pulling things out a little bit. And I like that this is a supportive aspect to this because I think it's helping us to remove or, kind of get rid of those last things that we're still hanging on to, especially with that Scorpio moon. It helps us go into the subconscious and kind of dig things out as uncomfortable as it can be. So I almost see that as being like the little helper beside the Scorpio moon. That's like, okay, well, I can actually help you do this in a way that's not like overly uncomfortable, So that's nice. We can take that help.
Yeah. And Mars in Aquarius too. Like our motivations, our actions are coming from a place of wanting to have a different awareness or see a different perspective, which is really nice. Like it is helping us kind of get out of our comfort zone and do things a little bit differently with Mars and Aquarius. And that's really helpful when you're on a healing journey. Like you've got to try different modalities, different things to see what's going to work for you. Aquarius energy reminds us something that works for us isn't going to work for the next person. We're all very individual, unique people. So, the Pisces energy throughout the day is giving us grace with that conjunction between Mercury and Jupiter, but also Chiron's little activation here does remind us, and the Scorpio moon reminds us we still have some healing to do, and I like that we have a transit with Chiron today because we're talking about Aries season. We're looking ahead to Aries season. And if you look at the chart, Chiron is in Aries, which means in about 10 days, the sun will form a conjunction to Chiron. This happens once a year. And so it's really going to shine light on our wounds. It's going to shine light on the healing that we've done and that maybe we still need to do. And this nice sextile between Mars and Chiron is inviting us to like, hey, maybe take that next step towards your healing so that conjunction isn't so jarring. The Scorpio moon invites us to like, hey, get it out, let it out, release it, close that chapter, let it die so that the conjunction between the sun and Chiron doesn't kind of blow up,
Yeah, I also love how today it's like 111, like Chiron's at 11 degrees and the sun's at 1 degrees, like that 111 energy. So that's like very synchronistic.
Yes, especially Aries season, Aries being the first sign. It's, also I see this sextile between Mars and Chiron. Like if there's a healing journey you haven't started yet, this could be the beginning of it too. This could help you kind of start.
Yeah, really, really great reminder on that. Something else actually that, I can't remember exactly what you had said, but something that came up for me when you were saying it is that also to like look and see how much healing you've done in the past 2 years, because all of us have done some form of something where we're probably feeling different than we did 2 years ago. And I think it's just important to give yourself like that gentle kindness of like, wow, I have done a lot already in terms of looking inward and maybe changing something in my life. And where do you feel like you're more yourself now? I think Chiron and Aries is also showing us that a little bit. And is that in tandem through some of the healing that you've already done? I think that's something to keep in mind as well to look at.
And healing isn't linear either. So even if you have been on a huge healing journey over the past couple years, don't be surprised if something else comes up. Like that's life. We're always kind of unpacking things and working through things. And so even if you're like, oh, I did it, it's done, I healed, don't be surprised if this. I think also something I want to touch on with Chiron and Aries is very childlike. It's kind of like the baby or the kid of the zodiac, and so healing can really come from with Chiron and Aries and a lot of this Chiron activation during Aries season, taking care of your inner child, like being your inner child, letting her out to play and doing that, like letting your inner child loose can actually show you what still needs healing. If you always keep your inner child locked away, how are you ever going to find out what they need or like what they're still wounded from, So lean into that childlike fun energy during Aries season too. I feel like a little kid is like the perfect example of Aries energy because they have so much energy, first of all, like just and like that kind of like distracted, impulsive, like I want this now, it's like they're kind of all over the place and just like whatever their focus is in that moment is where they're going to direct their energy fully,
It's like what they want, they're going to you're going to know what they want, right? Like, and listen to that. That's again, such a great reminder. Listen to that in and of yourself. How can you like give yourself what your inner child wants? Like, I don't care if it's like once a week, once a month, whatever, but it's like, can you have like an inner child date where you're like, I'm just going to like allow myself to indulge what my inner child wants today. I think that can be something that's very healing.
Yeah. Like, what did you like to do as a kid? Do you still do that as an adult? How would it feel? Like you loved riding your bike as a kid. You rode your bike every day. Do you ride your bike as an adult? If not, like, do you even have a bike? Buy yourself a bike. Go on a ride. See how it feels. What comes up for you,
Yeah, I need to get rollerblades. That's honestly something that keeps coming up. I'm like, I want to go roller skating.
That is amazing. Yes.
Like, yeah. Why don't we do these things?
Right. It's like, who told us to stop having fun?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about what's going on with the moon today. We've talked a ton about Scorpio moons a second ago because we are Scorpio moons and the moon is in Scorpio. So, as astrologers, we're very in tune with the planetary transits, what's going on, and tracking the moon cycle based on your own moon can be really, really helpful just to kind of like figure out where am I at emotionally right now. So with the moon in Scorpio, if you have a Scorpio moon like us, it probably feels like pretty natural for you. But also for everyone, a Scorpio moon does add intensity. It asks us to go deep into our own emotions and really intensifies anything that comes up. Now we're in Aries season. It's like the match was lit, the spark is under us. And the beautiful thing about the Scorpio moon is that we have this deep power that we're working with, like this deep well that we're coming from with our energy, which is really beautiful. But too much power isn't always a good thing. We are talking about manipulation and control. And so like, watch yourself if you find yourself kind of becoming a little bit more controlling or manipulative. I say it with love because,
we know
we have those traits as Scorpio moons. We're working through that. We're on our healing journey. You're okay.
Yeah. You might feel very passionate. And this is something I really appreciate when people say about me. They're like, I can tell you're feeling very passionate. And they're saying it in a way of like, I notice it now because I am so passionate, but also I'm like, okay, like this is coming off real strong here. Maybe I need to kind of, and again, it's balance, but you might feel more passionate about certain things. I noticed that the horns and people honking at one another during Scorpio moons is very intense. And as an empath, I try and not drive as much during the moon in Scorpio. So yeah.
Yeah, like it's like with all the fire, with all the power, Scorpio energy is very defensive. So we want to make sure we're not being reactive or like letting that scorpion tail sting if we're feeling emotional, and it'll be easier to do that, not just because it's Aries season, but because throughout the morning, the moon has been making some pretty intense connections. So the moon squared off to Mars at 4 a.m., opposed Uranus at 6 a.m., and then at 9 a.m. So we're still feeling this. The moon squared off to Venus. And all of this just screams like compulsive, like kind of like making rash moves and decisions. I would say try not to do that. If you have already, maybe like take a beat, take a step back. But when the moon squares off to Mars and Venus specifically, like we feel this need to feel good and like to do something or to get something, one or the other with Mars and Venus. It's like we have like intense needs when the moon, especially the Scorpio moon, squares off to Mars and Venus. And then that opposition to Uranus like makes us crave excitement and a thrill. So this energy of this morning, you might find yourself like, I kind of actually, now that I'm saying this, was doing this a little bit to my partner this morning, like almost poking the bear a little bit, like, can I get a response out of you? Not proud of that. And not even like realizing I was doing it until now, taking a step back and being like, oh, that was my subconscious, like trying to almost manipulate or control the situation. You know what I mean? So watch yourself this morning.
That's a good, even in terms of manifestation, like I don't have a partner. I'm here by myself. So when I was like poking my manifestations, like, why aren't you coming yet? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like that sort of, impatience, which is a shadow energy, and that subconscious of like, why isn't it here yet? And it's like, okay, clearly there's still some stuff coming up deep within that I need to kind of look at. That's where I'm going first thing in the morning, where these transits were. So
yeah, because ultimately we're craving power under the Scorpio moon, whether that's control or whether that's like
control's a good
some
word.
sort of like contract, because Scorpio rules energy exchange. Like we want to be in control of the energy. So, I mean, the moon's going to be in Scorpio all day, but today's energy really feels kind of like a roller coaster. Like we start with this tension, and then by the middle of the day, it's like, oh, beauty, because we have two trines between the moon and Jupiter and the moon and Mercury. Things get a little hairy at the end of the day. We'll get there in a sec. But 4 p.m. moon harmonizes with Jupiter, and then 7 p.m. the moon harmonizes with Mercury. Very positive, abundant energy. It's like watery energy. We're emotional, but also like this could be an abundance of emotions, but they're not necessarily going to be negative emotions, I don't think. It's like very positive and fortunate, and we can be more empathetic and tap into, like when we talk about Scorpio energy, we're like, we're going deep, we're like, it's intense. We're going all the way in. We're diving in. Part of diving in, there's like a lot of beautiful things in there as well. Yeah. Kind of pull out with these harmonies between the moon, Jupiter, and Mercury. You can kind of pull out like your empathy or your compassion or that part of yourself, maybe, especially if you're not particularly a Piscean person and you don't always express that. This is a really beautiful opportunity this afternoon to go find it and like bring it a little closer to the surface,
Yeah. Dive deep into those oceans, okay? It's beautiful down there.
Yes. And I hear like intuitive downloads also, especially the moon harmonizing with Mercury. Scorpio moon, like you said, is about the subconscious. Mercury in Pisces is very dreamy and kind of ethereal. So it's like almost like this water energy is like pulling through downloads that maybe you need to hear from spirit. So just pay attention if anything is coming through. Sometimes I think honing our intuition, not that I'm an expert on it, is just like paying attention to those random thoughts, because a lot of times they're not actually random thoughts. They're your intuition trying to tell you something, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Put them in a notes app. Keep them. Mm-hmm.
The notes app is my best friend. Seriously, I can't tell you how many lists I have on the notes app, or ideas or whatever.
I bet. Yeah, that Virgo would just love that.
It's like it's a Scorpio moon too. It's like this this intense need for like, well, if I just get it out of my brain, like I need to release it from my brain, but I also need to have the control of knowing that I put it somewhere.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that.
Very helpful though. I highly recommend.
Yeah.
And then we end the day with another square. This is what I'm talking about, the roller coaster effect. Like the middle of the day, the evening is like, la, so beautiful. And then the end of the day is a square between the moon and Saturn. One of the most challenging aspects we talk about. I wrote just like, go to bed. You know, this is at 9 p.m. Like you might feel a little bit isolated, lonely, worried when the moon squares off to Saturn. Those fears, especially with the moon in Scorpio, can kind of come into your awareness and worries. So really the best way I think to use this energy is like slow down, try to shut your brain off. Don't go too deep at the end of the day, and like maybe just go to sleep, you know, or do something that's going to like allow you to relax and get out of that like mental race, you know?
Yeah, good idea. Probably don't watch any like intense documentaries or anything like that before bed.
Yeah, or like crime shows. I would say tonight's really not the night to watch crime shows, because as you're falling asleep, you're going to be like, but that could happen to me. And, you know, like there's a lot of darkness with the Scorpio moon and like fear, like I said. So, and then let's pull up really quickly. So that's what's happening today, but we're like preparing you for seriously like the next week, the next month, the next year in this live stream. So I just want to take a quick snapshot of the week ahead also, because we do have, here we go. We do have some pretty major transits coming up. So we have Mercury conjunct Jupiter today, and then Mercury conjunct Neptune on Wednesday. And I mean, notice the theme here when we're looking at all the planet transits. It's Mercury, like all week. It's all about Mercury this week. So thoughts, there's going to be a lot of thoughts coming through, a lot of communication this week. And maybe some realizations or insights, because all of the connections that are being made are pretty powerful. Like conjunctions are always powerful, especially with Neptune involved. We talked about this a little bit, but just like this could be like imaginative, dreamy for sure, but also like spiritual downloads or psychic downloads come through when Mercury forms a conjunction to Neptune. And then Mercury is getting support from the North Node, squaring off to Lilith, forming a sextile to Pluto. All of that is very transformative energy, you know, all leading up to Mercury entering Aries on Sunday. So Mercury, you know, we have to remember Pisces energy. Mercury's in Pisces is about closure, is about healing, is about endings. Pay attention to like what's coming through, allowing into your mental state, allowing you to close chapters, or maybe there's realizations you're having about what needs to end, what you need to let go of.
Even like creative ideas, like is there ones that you're, you know, ready to let go of, maybe creative projects that you've already completed, or, you know, you're ready to move on to the next one. I think that that's something else, like the creation part is really, really big with Pisces energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And this could be a time, because we're in Aries season, that if you have these new ideas come through, you know, Mercury in Aries as of Sunday will help you put them into the physical and start things. And just the Aries energy in general is very helpful for that. But we touched on this at the beginning of this show. You have to clear out space to start something new. You know, like you can't redecorate your entire house, right? You can't redecorate your house without cleaning out the closets, because you know, it's just going to become a mess again if you don't. So that's what's going on with the planets this week. The moon, we have the moon in Scorpio today, moves into Sagittarius. We have the final quarter moon, the last quarter moon on Friday. So this is a time of release, of letting go still. Like we said, working up to that Aries new moon. Still, if you're not fully feeling that new year energy, we have great opportunities to release and let go. And, you know, with the moon in Sagittarius in the middle of the week too, and starting tomorrow, it's like we can lean into like the fun Aries energy. And it reminds us that having fun can be a great form of release. You know, it doesn't have to be so like serious and spiritual all the time.
Oh yeah. I love when the moon's in Sag. That'll be a nice little switch up.
Yes. And also the moon in Sag, like I would say Tuesday and Wednesday, like really move your body, you know, with Aries energy now with the sun, there's going to be a lot of fire energy. Like movement is key for sure.
Meat suit time. Move the suit.
Meat suit. Yes. Yeah. So that's what's happening this week. Of course, we'll talk through it day by day, but I like to on Mondays just give you guys a little bit of a heads up and get everybody on the same page. So let's do a little overview of today, and then we will do a card pull. So today we have Mars getting support from Chiron. It really feels like today we're at this moment of we're ready to start new things, but there are still some chapters we need to close and some things we need to release, maybe some parts of ourselves we need to heal. And the Scorpio moon will allow us to release and let go and be very introspective, pull out those things that need to come out of us. So we really have this duality right now between endings and new beginnings, with such a juxtaposition between Pisces and Aries energy. And throughout the day, we have a tense start. The moon squares off to Mars and Venus, opposes Uranus. It can make us feel a little compulsive by the start of the day, but by this afternoon and evening, things will feel much easier, more abundant. The moon harmonizes with Jupiter and Mercury, allowing us to dream, have intuitive downloads, speak from a more compassionate place, have more compassion for ourselves and others. Just when the moon squares off to Saturn tonight, just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. Don't deal with it. What are your thoughts on today? Anything else you want to add?
Early bedtime for us all tonight. Be that parent yourself and be like, I'm going to put myself to bed. And I think that's a really good reminder. But honestly, I feel like if there are those things that are coming up, any fears, any things that are like deep rooted in your subconscious, they're trying to make space. They're trying to make space for the new fruit, the new blooms, the new plants to kind of flourish. And that's what we're going to move into next. So I know it can be hard. We kind of get caught up in that like, oh my gosh, but allow them to come up and allow yourself to release it and just witness it. Hold yourself, right? And say, okay, I see you, and I release. And then go to bed early.
Yeah, then allow your subconscious to actually work through it and your sleep, you know. Okay, so as you know, we end all of these live streams with a card pull. So I'm going to pull from the spirit animal deck today because Aries energy, Mars energy, what we're talking about today is very animalistic. While I get this out and shuffle, I want to pull up your Instagram so you can tell the people how to work with you, what you've got going on.
Oh, amazing. There's my Instagram. Hello. I like to say I'm like a spiritual hype girl. So, I like to share information, of course, about the astrology. I try to put it in like fun ways that kind of will be grounded to understand, but also just like very Piscean because I have a Pisces rising. And so, then I'm going to be running a group program, like a group mentorship. It's kind of a way to connect with others who want to also learn about astrology and just want to maybe have people to practice with. I think that's really important. I have readings and lots of little ways that you can come in, learn, and also work with me if you're interested.
And just fun. It's a lot of fun. I feel like you're really great at also, speaking of connecting with other people, like you really use your account to highlight other people in the spiritual space too. I've started following so many people because you've shared them. So I appreciate that about you. And I feel like if you're looking to just connect with more people, even just online, like following her is a really great way to do that.
I love that. That makes me really happy to hear because it's something I want to bring more of actually into my Instagram, like more of a community feel. And so, I love that.
And I feel like we're friends, even though we've never met in person. You know what I mean? Like we met through Instagram and we like talk all the time. And, it's really, I've really shifted my perspective on technology and social media, and it's really brought me a lot of like beautiful connections. So, you know, I don't have to tell you to follow Court. Like, it's obviously you should follow her, obviously. But I just encourage you to put yourself out there on social media and really be intentional about who you're connecting with, because it can really bring you some amazing friendships and opportunities.
Yeah, that's how I feel about social media too. Obviously, it can get overwhelming sometimes, but I think it's important for you to say like, okay, what this is, I see it as like my blank canvas. Like it's a place where it's a playground, you know, and sometimes kids on the playground aren't always nice, but you can make it a space where it is nice and where you can meet people and be social, and it gets to be in alignment with your energy, which is something I think is really, really beautiful. Yeah.
I love that Aries season playground analogy. Yeah. Love it. Love it. All right. Yeah. Let's pull a card. What do we need to know today? Hummingbird spirit, be here now is what it says. Yeah. What perfect Aries energy too, the hummingbird. It's like fast, flitty. It's card number 34. So if 34 is a special number for you, pay special attention to the message. And here's what it says. The hummingbird's wings beat so swiftly it can hover in seeming stillness as it drinks deeply from a flower. Hummingbird spirit comes to remind you that the beauty and sweetness of life is in the eternal now, the timeless present. Here and now, you are becoming the person you wish to be, to have the experiences you wish to have. Focus your energy on the flower before you, for what you desire is being provided. Yes, there are blossoms everywhere. The choices can be dazzling. Hummingbird Spirit's message is that you have no need to go about in search of something better, for all that you require and desire is right before you. You will know this as soon as you become still, feeling your connection to Spirit, who loves you unconditionally and will always provide for you. So
beautiful. Yeah.
I love how this card, you wouldn't expect it to talk about stillness, but a really great reminder to start Aries season, you know, to be still, to open your connection to spirituality, especially with so much Pisces energy we're still working with. Being still, allowing stuff to come through, maybe not jumping around so much during Aries season, and that you have the bloom right in front of you, like, hello, spring, you know, like get ready to bloom, just still enough to allow it to come through and to allow your awareness to like focus on where you're supposed to bloom, you know?
Yeah, beautifully said. The hummingbird buzzes like when it's like right at its flower, like it's still moving, right? It's still moving, but it's focused on what it's focused on. And I think that that's a beautiful reminder too. Focus keeps coming up for me. Focus, focus, focus.
Yeah, because we can be very all over the place in Aries season, but the power of Aries is if you do have that focused energy, it's like you can get shit done if you're really focused. So yeah, awesome. All right, so a few little housekeeping notes from me before we let you go, because I have kept Court on here long enough. So throughout the week, I'm going to have new announcements and new things coming up for the new year, maybe some new astrology merch. So stay tuned for that. And I'm going to add some new kinds of readings as well to my website. So I'll be announcing all of that. But Court touched on this a little bit. And if you're watching and you're in the Sacramento area, I just want to let you know about a new event a group of women and myself are starting called Goddess Night Out. Let me bring it up here so I can show you. It's going to be a monthly women's dance night. So each dance night will have a workshop. We will have just free dance. We'll have an opening circle and a sound bath at the end. And this is really for women to come together and tap into our sensuality, our feminine energy, tap into the goddess within. It's for somebody who is looking for a community of women to dance with and to feel supported by, but maybe, or just somebody who loves to dance. Like, I came up with this idea because I love going out to dance, but I'm not a big drinker, and I don't necessarily want to dance with a bunch of dudes watching me. You know, like it's a very different energy. Like, as a woman, when you're going out, and there are men around. It just is. And if you're in a space in your life where you're looking for that, like, more power to you. I will happily go dance with you downtown. But, you know, this is a monthly night where we can all just come together and be in our feminine energy. So tickets are on sale right now at goddessnightout.org. They're selling fast for our first event. It's going to be a limited number of tickets. So if it sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to go check it out. Follow us on Instagram as well at Goddess Night Out. You can ask any questions you have about it. And Court, big picture, like, we've got to bring this to your area.
Yeah, you know? That would be so much fun. I would love that. Like, imagine you expanded and did like all these different places, like a little tour. That would be really cool.
That is, I mean, Mercury and Pisces, right? I've been like having all the big dreams, all the ideas, but already just seeing the response of women in Sacramento, I'm like, this is something that women need all over the world, honestly. So, yeah.
Beautiful. That Lilith in Cancer as well. Like, honestly, how timely. How timely. Yeah. Amazing.
And I didn't plan it that way. It's just what happens when you start aligning with the energy all the time. So that's the big announcement I'll make today here on the show. We also have a new episode of The Spiritual Journalist tomorrow, which is going to be really interesting. A topic that maybe you wouldn't expect to talk about on the show, but actually we're going to have an ICU nurse who's a friend of mine come on and talk about her experience through the pandemic. And so it's going to be very much an open-minded conversation, but so many of us make judgments about the past couple years and how we should or shouldn't have handled things. And I feel like I really wanted to talk to someone and bring someone on who has literally not ever gotten a break from this or not been able to just like, I don't want to deal with it right now. Like, it's been her job, you know, but she's also a very like spiritual person. She pulls tarot cards, she does yoga. So she has a really awesome perspective about preventative health and just, I think we can all, I'm hopeful we can all come away with a little bit more compassion and empathy after the episode. So that's going to be tomorrow at 1 p.m. and lots of fun stuff coming up this week. So I'll leave it at that because there's so much happening, but definitely come back through the rest of the week for more exciting announcements.
Yay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for this community. I appreciate you. I love you. I hope you have the most amazing Monday, a beautiful Aries season, a beautiful week ahead. And thanks again one more time to you, Court, because you just always bring the energy. You always bring the vibe. I love seeing you in the comments, and I love seeing you even more here on the screen.
Yeah, it's so nice to be included. Thank you.
I'm always happy to have you. You're welcome anytime. All right, we will be back tomorrow with another episode of Transits Today. But until then, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.